Hey folks, welcome to Black Gumbo. Today we're going to pot some pepper plants. Now with peppers, everybody's got their opinions. There are like crazy pepper people out there, and that's all they grow. They grow the hottest peppers they can, and then they nearly kill themselves eating them, and they enjoy that stuff. And well, that's not me. I grow all kinds of stuff, but I do like peppers. And you can grow peppers easily, whether you grow hot ones or sweet ones. They're about, you treat them the same. Now, some of these serious growers are going to tell you, no, you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to pinch and prune, you have to guide. Well, you do have to do some of that stuff if you're like a dedicated hobbyist and you're really learning how, you're really honing in on how to get the best pepper, the finest pepper, the biggest yields and all that. But if you just want some peppers for a salsa, or you want some bell peppers for cooking, it couldn't be easier. Let me show you how. Now, I went over to the Home Depot the other day and picked up some pepper plants. They were looking sad. This one here is a little cowhorn pepper, and it's a little yellow, tall, and leggy. This plant is trying to complete its life cycle and reproduce, make fruit and seed before it dies, because it's in this tiny pot. And I think, a plant senses when it's stressed out, and it senses, if you could call it sense, it kind of knows when its time is up. So we're going to try to save this plant and several others. I bought 4 of them down there. You can never have enough peppers. So yeah, let's go to the potting table and I'll show you what I do. Peppers do well in the ground. Peppers also do well in containers, and that's what this video is about. I bought these small, what are these? These are 10 quart, 9.5 liter containers. That's the smallest size that I would really feel comfortable putting a pepper plant in. This is a nice size for a patio, a deck, put it on your porch, and I'll talk about the sun requirements in a moment. But if you don't have a whole lot of room to plant in, these smaller pots are just fine for peppers. Ideally, I prefer a 5-gallon bucket or a pot of the similar size. But what I'm going to do with these buckets, though, is they have this water reservoir on the bottom, and we've talked about a water reservoir. I'll link to my video on how to use these. But I'm going to take this off, and you'll see the pegs that hold it there leave holes behind, and then there's these holes as well. The reason I'm going to take this off is peppers are naturally kind of an arid climate plant. They're tropical, but they don't like a whole lot of water. They don't like to sit in water. They don't need the reservoir down here. Your peppers will grow with less watering than a tomato. And so with all the rain we're having, I mean, I'm trying to video this between storms. We had 8 inches of rain last night. We have 2 weeks of rain coming. And so I don't want that reservoir on there. I want all that water, if these happen to be out in the rain, to just kind of flush through. Now I'm just using a basic garden soil mix. It's nice and got some compost in it. It's got peat moss in it. It's got a little bit of perlite in there for aeration. And I'm just going to fill my pot up with this stuff. I want to try to replicate what you might be doing if you have a small gardening space and you're potting in smaller pots. You're not gonna need to make a whole bunch of bulk potting soil. All you need to do is go down to the garden center, get you a couple pots, some plants, and a bag of soil. Now this stuff is pretty wet. It sat in that rain all night long, so it's pretty wet and mushy. But what I'm gonna do now, with all my pepper plants and with all my tomato plants, I like to mix a little bit of garden lime in. This garden lime is a way to provide calcium for your plants, and your plant needs calcium. So I'm going to take about a handful like that. Maybe that's a quarter of a cup. And I'm just going to mix that into the soil, and that will help this plant not have what's called blossom end rot. Especially some of your larger peppers, you can see you can get blossom end rot. It's where the bottom part of the pepper kind of rots away. So I've left a little hole in the middle there. Let's take this tall leggy guy. He needs to get in there the most. This guy is sick. He's not doing so well. There's a cowhorn pepper. This thing's really in there. So you can see it's got a pretty decent root system there, but it's just not doing so well. So we're going to plant this down in here about the level that it already is at. It couldn't be easier to pot peppers and tomatoes. I mean, really, you just stick it in a hole in the potting mix and call it a day. Now I will put mulch on here. I'm a believer in mulch. If you've watched any of my potting videos, you know we leave about a 2 to 3 inch layer and fill that up with a good mulch. I use hardwood mulch and I really like it. Wow, the sun is out for a second. It's nice to be out when the sun's out when you've got 2 weeks of rain in the forecast. Again, we mixed that garden lime in. We're not trying to get it deep, we're just trying to get it distributed a little bit so it's not right up against there's not concentrations of it in there. I don't really think it matters, but it's something we do for good measure, just in case. It's one of, you know, this is one of those things, you have to wonder, what are those things we do all the time because that's just the way we always do it? Well, there's a reason for most of that stuff. I just don't know what it is in this case. I suspect it has to do with burning your plant, but I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to tell you that's the reason. Couldn't be simpler. Now what you're going to want to do with these peppers is if they get tall and leggy, you want to drive a stake down in here or put a cage around them. It really depends on your style. I think a stake is just fine, so I'll take a bamboo pole about 4 feet long and I'll drop it down in the middle of this and I'll tie off my pepper to it when it gets long and leggy, otherwise the wind's going to whip it around. When fruit comes on these peppers, you need support as well, so a stake is fine for me. Some people like a tomato cage, but yeah, I'm cheap like that. Yet again, you've got your roots begin to circle. It means they're looking for space to grow. This one's going to be a little floppy, so I'll stake him. Just a bamboo pole. Drop it down close to the plant, and I will use some garden twine or some vinyl tape to lightly tie this guy to that pole. Right now he's just kind of resting there. Again, I like a nice 2 to 3 inch layer of this stuff, especially in the summer. Helps retain moisture. So this pepper is the one that's tall and leggy, and the one that I'm going to prune or pinch or top so that it will grow more side growth. I want this plant to be stronger in the main stem and not so tall and leggy and the wind flopping it around. And so I'm going to go ahead and come in right here. Yeah, right there. I'm going to top that thing now. Doesn't it look sad? Believe me though, this is good for the plant. It's helpful. Now the plant does not have to put energy to fruiting like it was doing. It doesn't have to put energy to flowering, to fruiting. All it needs to do now is concentrate all its energies on side growth, on stiffening up this main stem, and that's good for this plant. The plant does not have to be stressed out anymore. Once it recovers from being transplanted and topped, all it has to do is focus on growing out the plant again. It's no longer racing to complete its life cycle. It has been saved from that. And I'll show you, I lopped off the top of another plant several weeks ago, and I will show you what that plant looks like. In fact, it's sitting right in front of me. So let's take a look at that. So this pepper plant got topped. It got topped because it was tall and leggy like that one was. Look at all the side growth that it's forcing out now. This is, there's a yellow leaf we need to get rid of. But yeah, look at all that side growth that's coming out. You don't always have to do this, only if it's really tall and leggy. This one was tall and leggy, but I simply tied it to a pole because it's already got a nice branch there. It's branching out, and that's what I like to see in my peppers. I like to see branching. Kind of sad, huh? There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 flowers coming in here. This guy was trying to bolt to make it before he died. A pretty little flower. All right, now here's the thing about peppers that you really need to know to grow them successfully. They need at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunshine every single day. 6 to 8 hours. You can get by with 6. 8 is good. 8 is optimal. Some people even say 10 to 12. But 8 hours is what you need. So that's going to require you to search for a place that has a good, good clearance. You don't want a bunch of trees and filtered shade and all that, or peppers just won't thrive. And so in my garden, I have to have it out in this kind of open area over here, and not on the other side I've got these trees. None of that area over there is going to be good for pepper. So we put our peppers in these tiny pots, these small 12-inch pots. Now that's going to do fine. That's as big as the root ball is really going to get. And you do though need to stay on top of them in terms of watering. You need to check the soil more frequently on a smaller pot and keep the soil just slightly moist. Peppers don't need a lot of moisture, but they do need water. They're plants. Also, fertilizing. We didn't amend the soil with a slow release fertilizer like I've showed you how to do on some other potting videos, because peppers simply just don't need all that. What you need to do with the pepper is put it on your regular fertilizing routine. If you have potted plants, you should be on a regular schedule of giving them a water-soluble, all-purpose fertilizer, whether you use something like Miracle Grow or Jobs or whatever the chemical fertilizers are. That's fine, that's good stuff. Or if you use fish emulsion or anything else that is a water-soluble, general-purpose fertilizer. Compost tea is excellent for this because it's low dose, it's natural, it's got tons of micronutrients in it, and that would be ideal. Just keep yours watered on a 3 to 4 week schedule. Whatever works for you. Again, there's no formulas here. Your plant's going to tell you if it's not doing well, and you know, you don't have to follow a formula. You don't have to do it my way. If you want to amend your soil, but this is probably the simplest way to grow peppers in a pot. Thank you for joining us on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening today. Glad you stopped by. Please like us on Instagram, on Facebook. Please follow us and subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to hear from you, so leave us a comment. Tell us what you'd like to hear about. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.